I'm back. It's amazing how I will tell you I'm back as some kind of introduction just to break the ice. I'm going to have to fix that. But I'm back. Um, as you know, that Donald Trump is no longer president, and we're in a new era, the Joe Biden era. And I hope that Joe Biden will be a successful president. And honestly, I wish for any president, no matter how much I disagree with them, to be successful. But most importantly, I hope that Joe Biden will be a healing tone. And I say this as somebody that was essentially never Biden. I almost voted for Joe Biden in the election. No, I did not vote for Donald Trump. I did what I normally do, and I vote third party for president. It's always the go-to option because I'm not ideologically pure. But what Democrats and Republicans have to offer as far as presidential candidates, they basically do not offer anything that I could be excited about or embrace. And my issues are valid and important too, as it is for those that rely on the two party system, whether they do it out of fear of the other side or because they're in in their little box. They like what the one or the other main candidates have to offer. As I said, I hope that Biden and Harris will be healers, and that the divide, the war, the culture wars that we have right now. I hope to see some kind of a truce and all of that. And of course, there's talk about how this culture war could be tossed aside, but you know, neither side are willing to do what it takes to do that because it's more expedient and it's politically easier for Democrats and Republicans to wage culture wars. Well, as I said, I wish Joe Biden all the success in the world. But if the Democrats in Congress and Biden fail to make things better for the American people, my fears and concerns is that you will see a Republican comeback in the year 2022. The U.S. House could potentially flip back to the Republicans. And there's even more concern about the Republicans taking back the Senate and having Rick McConnell as the Senate Majority Leader again. But even more alarming if the Democrats fail to make things better for the American people. And they have an opportunity to do this, by the way. If they fail, what my big concern is that you will see a smarter, more competent Donald Trump, not Donald Trump himself, but somebody that will occupy that political demographic or sector, and such a person who is smarter and more competent coming into the White House. And I'm concerned that you will see the end of our constitutional republic and the end of our representative democracy. So this is why I say, and a question with a question mark at the end, no more Donald Trump. Well, Joe Biden is now the president as of yesterday in the afternoon. It's right now 2:10 in the morning, January 21st. Me ranting right this second. Um, he became president at noon. Uh, Kamala Harris is also our vice president now. Both houses of Congress, the Democrats are in control. I mean, it is a narrow majority for the U.S. House, and it's a razor thin majority for the Democrats in the U.S. Senate. But most importantly, Donald Trump is no longer president. Now, I have mixed expectations. And I think some things will obviously improve with a Biden presidency. Even somebody who's very critical of the Democrats for the way that they have been moving away from progressive positions for actually the last several decades at this point, which seems like yesterday. Um, some things will obviously improve. For example, I think that it's pretty safe to assume we're going to have a $15 minimum wage at some point, and I even think that some Republicans are going to join in. And the reason I say that is you look at Florida. Florida overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump in this election, but they also voted for a $15 minimum wage. And you're seeing weird things in red sections of the country that they vote Republican because of the damn culture wars. But when it comes to the pocketbook issues, and if it's put on a ballot, then all of a sudden their inner social democracy comes out. And so, and I mean, I'm glad, therefore, a $15 hour minimum wage. And this should be a flag for the Democrats to realize that being social democratic is a winning strategy. As I said, I think we'll have a $15 hour minimum wage. We're going to rejoin the Paris Accord. I mean, it was absolutely insane that Donald Trump withdrew from the Paris Accord just to own the libs and to satisfy a frothing in the mouth right wing base that has this attitudes as there ain't no such a thing as global warming. You know, to, to be in that kind of denial and to acquiesce to those folks. Um, the Iran peace deal. We will obviously go back into that. Now, I give Donald Trump credit on North Korea, and I don't understand why he wants to be peaceful with North Korea, but shit on Iran in regard to negotiating. Because if you're going to do that, you could argue that North Korea is probably far more dangerous than Iran. However, I was glad what he did with North Korea. I hope that that's going to continue under Biden. But I say go back to what it was under Obama with the Iran peace deal, because if you want Iran to be accepted into the West, and there's a lot of potential there. Anybody who knows Middle East politics would know what I'm talking about. You do it by not being antagonistic, and especially since they don't commit the terrorism that Saudi Arabia commits, and yet the United States sits there and coddles Saudi Arabia and enables them, but want to start a fight with Iran. It is crazy. Obamacare. Now, you don't know where I stand when it comes to healthcare. At a very minimum, I say Medicare for all. And when I mean minimum by Medicare for all, I favor National Health Service as it exists in Great Britain. I want true socialized medicine. Um, True socialized medicine. Medicare is a great start. I can accept Obamacare, barely accept Obamacare, if we were to have a robust public option. And that would mean lowering Medicare age requirement down to 50 and that sort of thing. Because I think if you were to do that, I think you can make an easy sell eventually to phase ourselves into Medicare for all. But right now, um, I would settle temporarily for jumpstarting Obamacare with the emphasis to have a public option or lower Medicare age requirement down to 50, because I think that we could potentially be on our way toward Medicare for all. But if we keep Obamacare without the public option, people are going to turn against it, and it will be just healthcare is just going to be more out of control than ever before. There's genuine talks about unions, and the thing about it is, I'm happy about that. I would be a union member now, but I was laid off about 3 years ago from my previous job, which was unionized. And I'm gonna tell you something: I miss a trade union job. And when 6.2% of the workforce of the private sector is is in a union, and maybe about 4 or 5% in the public sector, you pretty much have a labor movement that's pretty close to non-existent, which is where the crux of all the income inequality comes in. The you'll notice unions started to decline The middle class started to decline. The American dream started to decline. And the quickest way to repair that is to bring back the unions. And it can be done by outwardly getting rid of right to work laws on a national level, or something that Obama campaigned on in 2008, the Employee Free Choice Act, which would actually make it easier for unions to organize even in right to work states like mine. But anyway, th- as I said, that's some of the things that are kind of I would say cautiously optimistic about civil liberties friendly court justices, and that's another thing because right now we have a problem with the Trump appointees. There's enough Trump appointees to shift the country to the right, even after Donald Trump is long gone. Um, and of course, hopefully, we'll have better justices under Biden and Harris. If there was one issue, I would say that was justified to vote for Biden and Harris. I would say it would have been the courts. Um, I am still at this point glad I voted for Howie Hawkins of the Green Party. Um, well, and another thing, stimulus checks. Stimulus checks wins and warms people's heart across all party lines. And you offer people a check, they are getting something back from their government as taxpayers. And I don't understand some of the conservatives who are talking about, I don't like the government taking my money. And then there you got the government giving people some money occasionally. I don't like the government giving people money. Well, as a taxpayer, you should because you paid into it, and they're giving you something back. And I do think that Social Security for all is a winning strategy. I do. So, but some things will unfortunately remain the same, and that's where it gets controversial. Um, the cabinets are filled with want to be filled with corporatists and neocons, and you don't have to be a Republican to be a neocon. Many Democrats are neocons too, and a lot of people don't realize that the neocons actually came out of the far left, going back to the 1930s with the Trotskyist movement, and they morphed into the mainstream liberal movement, and then they ended up in the Reagan Revolution, and they got lockstep during the George W. Bush, Dick Cheney years. And of course, we saw the biggest debacle in foreign policy history that took place, called the Iraq War. And the Bush Cheney doctrine has been a total failure. Total failure. Now, my warning to Joe Biden and the Democrats, well, you have the opportunity to transform America from the failure of the Reagan Revolution and the Bill and Hillary Clinton style, what I call Clintonian corporatism, or the Reaganization of the Democratic Party. Well, my message to the Democrats is it isn't 1992 anymore. Um, it might still be arguably the year 2016. And and if you're not careful, we could see another Donald Trump as president. Donald Trump became president because many Americans felt behind. Now, for those Americans that voted for Donald Trump because they have white nationalist tendencies, fuck them, fuck them. But I'm talking about the people who voted for Donald Trump that were not necessarily bigoted or bigoted at all, but they fell for his populism about bringing jobs back, and and feeling ignored and everything, and that kind of reaches through across America. Um, but what did the Democrats do? They decided to concentrate on white Republican moderates in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio, and not care about those laid off factory workers and union workers, and even Chuck Schumer said that for every union blue collar worker we lose, we're going to gain four white moderate suburban Republicans, and that's ridiculous. I mean, it didn't work. And Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio went to Trump, and Trump became president. And it didn't have to be this way. This was the easiest election for Hillary Clinton to win, but she did not win because she thought she was too good to go to those states, and it was just enough for people who felt forgotten to go and vote for Donald Trump, a billionaire. Like a billionaire is going to look out for somebody. And as I said, if the Democrats fail to embrace 21st century style FDR New Deal liberalism, well, even in spite of the GOP shitstorm after Donald Trump, you can expect to see the Republicans making a comeback in 2022. Jimmy Dore has actually warned people, and I know that people get mad when Jimmy Dore's name is mentioned, but my gosh, he is correct. I mean, he might be an asshole in the way he says things, but you know what? He is correct, and you can't take that away from him. And he's going to be proven to be right. I hope the Young Turks keep that in mind. Anyway, while Donald Trump is no longer president, um, if Joe Biden doesn't get the Democrats behind a New Deal, well, what's going to happen is that a smarter, nastier style, a smarter, more competent, maybe less nasty, but kind of nasty person, somebody who takes what is shitty about Donald Trump currently and mix it in with what was shitty about George W. Bush, and you could see that concoction as president. And I would say that would be worse than actually having George W. Bush as president or having Donald Trump as president. Something that's a cross between George W. Bush and Donald Trump could transpire. And we're going by names like Ted Cruz. We're going by other names like Tom Cotton or or QAnon Karen down in Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is what we have to worry about. And even if they're not elected, they will have a loud enough following that the political instability and civil unrest going on will just continue. So you know, and what's actually kind of bad is now that Donald Trump is gone, that people are going to be kind of frowning at the idea of populism, even though his populism was fake, insincere. Um, People are clamoring for stability, a calm voice, which is what, like him or don't like him. I mean, Joe Biden seems to offer that. He's president. We can hope that he's going to do what's right. I hope that leftists in the Democratic Party, I hope that the squad, and I hope that the grassroots around the country pressure the Democrats in Congress and pressure Biden and Harris to go left and not be corporatists. Now, what about Donald Trump himself? Well, like most politicians, I feel like he's going to just not be prosecuted and get away with things. And um, and I don't think he'll be prosecuted for a couple of reasons. One, um, there's a lot of corruption in both parties. It's an open secret. They know it themselves. They know the American people themselves know it. And if they go too far in trying to make an example out of Donald Trump, they're going to be exposed themselves, and they're image conscious, these politicians, and they want to look good even though they know that most Americans think they're pieces of shit. They want to look good, so that's what they're going to do. And I think that also, I think that it's the keg powder analogy. Now, in the 1980s, when I was in high school, just before graduating, late 80s, I asked my dad, it's like, why didn't they go after Reagan the way they went after Nixon? And my dad said, well, they were concerned that it could divide the country. And for the good of the country, even the Democrats wouldn't go after Reagan with the Iran Contra scandal. And I kind of think that that's what's going to happen with Donald Trump. I think that a lot of even if the Democrats remain in control, they're going to do it in their mindset for the good of the country. And I said that he's done a lot of damage. He's done a lot of damage to, in well, mostly domestically with his shitty handling of the COVID crisis and giving $4.5 trillion toward corporations and doing next to nothing for the American people. Of course, one can argue that's what people in both parties elected did for the most part. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. Comment any ways you don't like it. We'll have a conversation. Let's see. If you're, would like for you to share the content on this channel, feel free to do so. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that to go ahead and prepare a platform for yourself, especially if you're passionate about something, because we're the muckrakers of our time. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and to learn more about what it is to be all about social democracy and to have a good society. Until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.